These stories were created by an AI to bring you chills and thrills. If you notice any mistakes or odd phrasing, I sincerely apologize. Sit back, enjoy the eerie atmosphere, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are closer than you think, Mr. Holden never raised his voice. He didn't have to. There was something about the way he looked at you, like he was peeling back layers of flesh just to see what twitched beneath, that made even the rowdiest kids freeze mid-breath. His eyes, cold and sharp, seemed to see through the skin, through the bones, into the very marrow of a person. It was as if he could dissect your soul with a single glance, and you'd be helpless to hide what he found. He taught literature, but not the way other teachers did. His lessons were quiet, deliberate, almost ritualistic. When he recited Macbeth, it sounded less like a tragedy and more like a confession. His voice was low, measured, with an undercurrent of something darker, an almost hypnotic pull that made the words linger long after he'd spoken. His classroom, room 7C, always smelled faintly of bleach and something metallic, though no one dared ask why. The air was thick with a sterile sharpness, and there was a strange sense of calm. No chaos, no noise, just a quiet, oppressive focus. Students whispered about him in hushed tones, but no one truly understood him. Teachers kept their distance. The principal kept a wary eye. The janitor, an old man with a crooked back, avoided the door altogether. And then the disappearances began. Mila Reyes was the first, a straight-A student, debate team captain, the girl who corrected teachers when they misquoted Hamlet. She was bright, confident, outspoken, precocious beyond her years. She had a future mapped out, plans for college, a scholarship in hand. But she was also meticulous, obsessive about her grades, about perfection. One afternoon, Mila stayed late in the library, poring over her notes for the upcoming debate. Her parents waited anxiously, but she didn't come home. The police found her backpack in the woods behind the school, her notebook inside, pages torn out except for one. "I know what he does after class." That single phrase haunted the town. Within days, 5 more students from Haldon's honors section disappeared, all with spotless records, all last seen near room 7C. The school administration insisted it was a coincidence. The police called it a tragedy. The town whispered about a curse, a serial predator, some dark conspiracy, but the students knew better, because they knew. They'd seen the notes. They'd found them slipped into lockers, written in that same precise, looping script. 30 p.m., room 7C, extra credit. Some students went, some refused. The ones who refused, they'd wake up to a single red X carved into their bedroom door. Their grades would plummet overnight. Their parents would get calls about behavioral issues. Within weeks, they'd transfer or just disappear. Their names erased from the system, but the ones who went, they never came back. At first, the police chalked it up to runaways or foul play. Then, the reports suggested a predator, possibly trafficking. Nothing concrete, just rumors. No one checked the basement because Blackwood High's basement wasn't on the blueprints. No one knew what was down there until Jordan. Jordan was a quiet kid, academically gifted but socially reserved. His best friend, Alex, was loud, confident, a natural leader. But Alex had been more reckless lately. One day, Alex received the note. 1:30 p.m., room 7C. Extra credit. He showed Jordan, his eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and fear. "Don't."
"Go!" Jordan warned, voice trembling. But Alex was desperate. His scholarship was on the line, and he was tired of feeling like he was falling behind. "I have to. I can't let this ruin me." Alex said. Jordan's stomach clenched. Please, don't. It's not worth. But Alex had already made up his mind. That evening, Jordan watched from the janitor's closet as Alex slipped out of the classroom.
Clutching the note, he waited, heart pounding as the minutes ticked by. Then he saw Holden escort Alex down the hall, humming To Be or Not to Be. Jordan's instincts kicked in. He followed at a safe distance, heart pounding so loudly he was sure it would give him away. The door to room 7C was unlocked. He slipped inside and peeked through the crack. The room was soundproofed, the walls lined with thick, dark panels. The floor was stained, dried blood maybe, or something darker. The air was heavy, suffocating. And then he heard it. Screams muffled, faint, desperate. He ran. He called his dad, a frantic, stammering call. Dawn broke over Blackwood as officers raided the school. They found 7 kids alive, barely. One girl had been forced to solve an impossible math problem for 72 hours straight, her fingers broken when she got it wrong. A boy had been locked in a pitch-black room with speakers blaring his own voice, whispering, "You deserved this." Alex was still breathing, barely, lips trembling, murmuring, "He said I passed," over and over. Holden was arrested without resistance. He sat at his desk, grading essays in red ink, as SWAT officers stormed the room. When they cuffed him, he sighed. Like a disappointed parent, "Education requires sacrifice," he said softly. The trial was swift. He never blinked, never raised his voice. He explained calmly that he was filtering the weak from the worthy. That fear was the purest form of focus, that the survivors would be stronger. The jury took 12 minutes to convict him. He was sentenced to life without parole, but the story didn't end there. Because Holden's influence extended beyond the courtroom. Every year on the anniversary of his arrest, letters arrived, handwritten, perfect cursive, no return. Address, no postmark, just a single sentence. Did you learn your lesson? The first time, students dismissed it as a prank. But year after year, more letters came. Some hid them away, trembling. Others burned them in desperate hope to destroy the message. But the notes persisted. They arrived in lockers, slipped into textbooks.
Left on beds, the words were always the same, yet their meaning grew heavier with each passing year. Did you learn your lesson?
Some believed Holden was communicating from beyond the grave, a sinister puppet master pulling strings from inside the prison walls. Others whispered that the notes were a manifestation of something darker, an evil that refused to die feeding off fear and guilt. And some feared that the true lesson was never about literature, but about surrendering your will, accepting your place in Holden's twisted hierarchy, or becoming another name lost to the shadows. Over time, the disappearances seemed to take on a ritualistic pattern. Those who refused the notes, who fought or ran, vanished without trace. Those who accepted or succumbed found themselves in the depths of room 7C, or worse. Rumors spread about the basement. Some said it was a laboratory, a place where Holden conducted experiments in fear. Others believed it was a gateway, a portal to some unfathomable darkness. No one knew for sure. The truth was buried beneath layers of silence, denial, and fear. The students who remained endured the psychological torment. They became paranoid, distrustful. Some withdrew completely, haunted by the whispers of the past. Others, like Jordan, kept watch, eyes peeled for any sign of Holden's influence. Some tried to leave, but the guilt and fear rooted them to the town. They knew Holden's lessons weren't confined to the classroom. They had learned that fear was a weapon, one that could break a person's mind, twist reality, and turn hope into despair. Each year, as the date of Holden's arrest crept closer, the atmosphere thickened. Students would cluster in groups, whispering, eyes darting nervously. Some would vanish, seemingly out of nowhere, their faces pale and eyes wide with terror. No one dared speak about the notes anymore, but everyone felt their presence. The unspoken question lingered in the air. Did you learn your lesson? And those who received the latest letter, the newest message from the darkness, knew that Holden's voice was still there, soft, calm, deadly, and that the true lesson was never truly over. Years later, Jordan, now an adult, returned to Blackwood. He had to know the truth. He visited the old school, now abandoned, its windows boarded and walls scarred with graffiti. He found the basement entrance, hidden behind a false wall in the boiler room. Just as he remembered, he descended into darkness, the air thick with the scent of rust and decay. And there, in the shadows, he found it, a room lined with photographs, notes, and strange symbols carved into the walls. Holden's voice echoed in his mind. The lessons never end. He realized then that Holden's mind, or whatever force had taken hold of him, had never truly been stopped. It had simply gone underground, waiting for new students, new victims, to continue the cycle. And as Jordan looked around, he saw this faintest tremor of movement, perhaps a shadow, perhaps something else. He knew with certainty that Holden's influence persisted, that room 7C was never truly empty, that the notes still arrived, and that the true lesson was forever ongoing. In the years that followed, a new generation of students arrived at Blackwood. Some heard the whispers, some ignored them, but every year, on the anniversary, the letters still came. Some students kept them, some destroyed them, and some simply listened to the silence, knowing that the darkness lurked just beyond the edge of understanding. Because in the end, the worst thing about Mr. Holden was not his quietness, nor his gaze, nor even the terrible things he'd done. It was that he taught a lesson that could never truly be finished, a lesson in fear, control, and the unending silence that follows in the wake of true darkness.